All right. So also always check this first. We do have this. I'm going to insert it. It's going to ask if I want to apply the settings of this section. I do not. Don't apply. Because sometimes it'll change it to like, always want it on default, because we earlier went into global settings and we changed the layout here to the default page layout theme to, I thought Elementor full width. I might not have saved that. So this is actually a good part of this lesson too, if you didn't already see it gone over. So you can see it says home here. That wasn't anywhere in the template. That's WordPress is bringing in home and just sticking it above the Elementor content. We don't want that. What we want is we want it to, on all of the pages, get rid of that. And the easiest way to do that is in the main site settings, default page layout for all of your pages to be Elementor full width. That pulls in the header of the footer of the template or the theme and gives you free reign over the content in there and excludes this home thing. So I always do this, save the changes. And that might have actually changed when we imported in that template kit, actually. X out of this. I might need to refresh this page for home to go away. Sometimes you have to do that. Yep. So it's also causing this, see this, there's this little gap at the top. It's because of this home, because this is a negative. This is using negative to get up past this invisible header here. So, because we don't want this space there. So this section right here is using negative 100 top margin. So it pulls it up behind it, but this home is causing it to not show up properly. So let's refresh this page. Actually, I'm going to publish this. Then I'm going to refresh the page. And now there's no gap at the top. Home is gone. And now we can go with moving on to the rest of the page, making the changes. Now, a couple things. So if you if you're on a page and you need to make a change to the header or the footer, you don't need to go back into the template. You can do it right from here by just clicking on this section. See, it highlights differently. And if I click on it, I'll be able to make a change to it. So if I click on the header up here, it'll refresh, do a little refresh thing, give me my header settings, and then I'll be able to go in here and edit, and this edits it for the entire website. Well, actually not this particular one, because this is just for the home page. But one thing to keep in mind here, so I can still do display conditions right from this section, but one thing to keep in mind that I talked about a little bit before was the difference between sections and containers. Now, even though this is a relatively new template, this is still utilizing sections, the old type of WordPress functionality. So you can see that because it says section here. So I might change this to be header home, because it has columns inside of it. But if you click on the section, it'll say convert to container. So if you click convert, this will do this for you automatically. And it kind of tries to bring in the best settings that it can. Sometimes it creates unnecessary containers on the inside, but this little icon, see it says header home here and header home here. This little icon indicates a container though. That's how you know whether or not you're using a container. Because this might, if I would have just duplicated this, it might have still just said section, or might have changed it to container to say container, but I kept the name and just indicated that it was the right type of header by this. Now, how you used to be able to separate these items in sections was by using columns, and each column was its own div tag, or now in containers, container. So, but there's only 3 elements here, 1, 2, 3. So one of the cool things about using Flexbox containers instead of sections with like columns is you can get rid of a lot of this stuff. Because these need to be together, I would put them in one container and lose this container and lose the container around this. So what that might look like is, I'll just duplicate this. What that might look like is I'll pull this outside of this, and then I will delete this container. And then I'll put this inside this container and then delete this container. And these are a little bit wrong ordered. And it's also top to bottom, and I don't want that. I want left to right. So I want to go row horizontal. And then this is obviously too big. So I'm going to style this to be max of 270. Still looks a little bit too big. We're going to have to do a little bit of work here. I don't want to center it. I want it to be left aligned. We're going to make this section altogether smaller. Wait, is this should be flow this way? Yep, good. And I want this to be I want them all to be centered on each other. So I'm going to center this, align them centered horizontally. And then this should be so if this has a advanced width of, when I pulled it over, it changed this. So if I make this longer, it's going to change that to be longer. So what I might do is I might just try to set it like statically 30%. Maybe that looks okay. And then I'm going to shrink this down to be about the size that it is up top. So it's good to leave them up there sometimes when you're making these changes. So this is, I set this to be 30. So the rest of the percentage is 70. So I'm going to set this to be 70%. 70. And then we're close, right? So, and then I want to align this to the end of it. I want to say go to the end, justify content. I'm in the layout section to the end. And that's very close. And it's actually got it a little bit closer even than this did. So it kind of looks like it's a continuation of the menu, which is cool and kind of what I want. Everything looks all right. So the only other thing I might do is I might get rid of inner padding. Comes with these containers automatically. So if I click on this and I go to advanced, it doesn't show any padding because there's default padding inside these sections from Elementor, just to make it always like look a little bit better. But if I zero this out, it'll shrink it down a little bit more. So it'll kind of like fix a little bit of the spacing issues that we may run into by going up to here. Although it might make it a little bit smaller. If I get rid of this, I can actually get rid of this one now too. I don't need that. And I'm kind of just looking at them side by side, seeing how they look. It looks pretty good. So I was able to get rid of 2 containers and fix this. So that's basically, that's generally how you switch out these sections. And then the only other thing you want to make sure you're doing is you're checking the other versions to make sure that they look okay. So it looks like they're deleting this out. They're hiding this when it is in tablet mode. I don't want to do that. I want to leave this up, and I'm also going to make sure that it's wide enough, but I'm going to, that you do that by going in here, going to responsive, because that's like a responsive feature. And I'm not going to hide this on tablet. Mobile probably, because it's going to be smaller. So we'll leave that and we'll see how it looks, but I'm going to unhide it there. I'm going to make this custom width. It's 30. That means 30% is still correct. This one, let's see if it has a custom width here. Oh, layout. It did. It had a custom width for tablet probably because of like how it was set up before. We don't want that. We actually want this to be 70 again, which is what the other one is. Actually, if I just delete this out, it'll default to whatever the desktop is, 70. So you can see it kind of grayed out here. That's what we want. Good. And then you have your mobile menu here. I don't like how small this mobile menu is. I'm just going to make it a little bit bigger and see what it looks like. I'm just going to try to bring it to like the full, like the size of these at least. So let's go to style and then the toggle button. Is that toggle button? I think it is a toggle button. Say size. Oh yeah, okay. There we go. Let's do 30 to maintain being even. And then is there some padding bottom or something? Let's zero this out and see what happens. No. So there's something going on with some other thing there. It's okay. It adds a little bit of space to the bottom here, but I might zero top 25, bottom 10. So it's already taken that into account, looks like. Yep. Okay. And then I'm just going to look at mobile real quick. Mobile looks a little bit messed up too. I actually want these side by side. So I'm going to say, I don't want 95%. I want 80. And I'm going to make this be 20. So these should, oh, and then the structure, let's make sure that it's left. Okay. So that's 20. And then this is 80. So maybe let's lower this down to 75 and see if it does it. Yeah, okay. So it's not going to look like this on actual mobile because this is going to be invisible. So, but it still wants to show it. It's not going to get rid of it. I also don't know. Left, top, right, bottom. Okay, that's fine. So this should be good. So I'm going to go ahead and publish this.